that I was very fascinated by it. Even though I thought the game was a little bloated, they probably coulda, shoulda taken out about 4 hours of it. Somebody in the chat right now, in fact, Zack says, I just made it out of the prison in Silent Hill. This game is peak, right? But it keeps going and going. I mean, it's not that bad. It's absolutely not. It's not like, oh my God, when will this ever end? But it does feel like it does overstay its welcome. But even with that, I was so interested in trying to understand. It was so clear that there was a lot at play, metaphorically speaking and sort of symbolically speaking. And it wasn't so much that I was compelled because, oh, what's the story? I want to know what the story is. It was more, this is a deep fucking experience. And I want to, I want to really try to get my head around what this means and what this is. So I think that was really the thread that pulled me through to get me to the end. And it was also just really, really good. Zack says he's really invested into the story as well, even though you're only getting crumbs of it. Right. If you just laid it out and pitched somebody that the narrative, you'd go, oh, it sounds okay. But, it's how it's told, I think, is really what makes it magical and special and things like that. So I would say that is, Eric, the reason I chose to finish that game. But, I finished Star Wars recently. Here's what it might be. And I don't know if this is accurate. We'll have to see. But since I have streamed gaming less, not gaming news or gaming conversations, but just playing the games a lot less, I have enjoyed finishing games more. And I think a lot of that just has to do with I'm able to give the game and the experience my undivided attention. So, Jojo D in the chat says Squirrel with a Gun is $16 on Steam. It comes out on consoles today. I was really vibing with that because Joe, in fact, was the one who introduced me to that, and he showed us a trailer on the stream. And I was like, this looks really, really fun. But then the reviews have been like, it is really, really fun. And after about an hour and a half, you kind of lose interest in it and it kind of gets really samey. So I'll probably skip it. There's just too much to play. But that's kind of the thing. It's I'm trying to figure out what I want to dive into next, like hardcore, whether I want to try to get into Zelda. I went back to Elden Ring last night, and I think that's going to be what I lock into until Call of Duty comes out to try to finally finish it. Jaffe, have you played Meta Refantasio? You mean the Persona guys games or some of their, is that what it's called? I get that thing mixed up. I played the demo, not all of it, but I played about an hour of the demo and I liked it. There's a lot of folks that are like, oh, it's one of the best games of the year. I am looking forward to it as I want to sit and finish up the demo and see. But I think before I do anything else, I really do need to try to finish Elden Ring in the next couple of weeks. PK, yes. He says, are you going to play that Terrifier game that just got announced? Yes. So this Friday, the Ash, Evil Dead, and Halloween Retro Arcade Collection comes out. And the people who have been playing it recently, like previewers and stuff, are saying that it is genuinely really good, which doesn't surprise me because it's coming from Way Forward. So I will be playing that, but Art the Clown from Terrifier 1, 2, and 3 and Hollow's Eve fame, that will be coming out in 2025. So unless it looks like, it's like a Streets of Rage game, unless it just gets terrible reviews, I will absolutely give it a play. Okay. Yeah, I heard that. Caden says, Jaffe, TCG Shop, the collectible card game shop simulator, is a great stream game. I have heard that's really, really, really good. And I will be getting that as well. Eric says, what about Space Marine 2? You haven't said anything about that. I played it for about an hour. I'm sure I'll love it. I wasn't in the headspace for it. And so it's not really something that's pulling me back, but I know people love it and I should spend some more time with it. But the first hour of it, I just thought was okay. But I'm sure I just wasn't playing it right, and I need to spend more time with it because it's hard to find somebody who doesn't love that game. And so I'm sure that I'll vibe with it when I spend some time. Am I getting the Pro? God, no. No, I have no interest in the Pro. The only way I would buy the Pro is if my PlayStation 5 shits the bed, which I thought it almost did the other night. Then I realized I just needed to cycle the power. Unless my PS5 shits the bed, I will not be buying a Pro. And even if it does shit the bed, if they drop the price, which I think they're going to sooner than later, on the base PS5, I'll probably just get that. I have, like anybody who watches the show more than 5 minutes knows, I'm a huge GeForce Now fan. I have the absolute best graphics in the world that a consumer gamer can have. And so I'm not really, the Pro offers me very, very little that I can't get already with what I've got. So is your PS5 still doing the weird screen glitching thing? It's doing a little of that. Movie Maniac, I need to clean out the fans. But the bigger issue was it started when I was playing Silent Hill. I was playing it a lot, and it's probably the longest I've had that PS5 on consecutively since I bought it. And things just started to drop frame rate, not just the game, but when I went out to the PSN store and stuff, everything was just chunk. And so ultimately I went online and they said, oh, it could be 4 or 5 things, but the first thing is just power cycle it, unplug it from the wall, let it sit 10, 15 minutes. And it worked great. So, okay. Look at this, my little delightful friends. One moment. Hassan says, Jaffe, have you compared any of the Silent Hill remake cutscenes with the original? It's so much better in the remake. I mean, when I was prepping for yesterday's show with Cody and Gen X, I looked at some of those, but you know, I consider myself very fortunate that I was able to come to Silent Hill 2 remake 95% fresh. So I know there's those people out there that are like, oh, this sucks. The first one was better. The original is better. But, you know, maybe that's true. I don't know what to tell you. All I know what to tell you is that as somebody who's coming to it, barely knows anything about it, I was in love with it for, 98%. If it wasn't for the bloat, it would be 100%. It's battling Star Wars Outlaws for my favorite game I've played this year so far. So, but no, I don't really have a lot of data and knowledge about much Silent Hill at all. So, and I've enjoyed that because I've been so, I've been so vibing and into how deep that game is, man. It's, I know a lot of games, I mean, think about this I was thinking about this, it's really weird to me and interesting. It's like all these game developers and the interviews and stuff, they like to talk a lot about, oh, we have a writer's room and there's all these writers now and stuff, just like TV. We're like the big boys, blah, blah, blah. Fine. And maybe that's necessary. I don't fucking know. But I'll tell you what, playing Silent Hill 2, and to some extent, well, let's just stick with Silent Hill 2. I don't want to get off on a tangent on that one. But playing Silent Hill 2 really does shine a light on the value of a singular vision and a singular voice in creative endeavors. And it doesn't mean there wasn't more than one writer on it. I don't know how many people wrote on it. I don't know how many people contributed to the seemingly anyway deep lore and deep meanings and hidden meanings of that game. But it definitely feels like a product born out of a very focused individual point of view. And we don't get that in AAA as much anymore. And I know what I was going to say is I also noticed that in what's it called? Starfield. And I know a lot of you guys don't like Starfield, blah, 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 whatever. But I noticed that in Starfield, and I don't know how many people wrote on that game, but in Starfield, there was also a very clear point of view about the universe and man's place in the universe. And I really love that. I love that about that game, and I love that about Silent Hill too. So, but in terms of the bloat, look, I mean, here's what I'll tell you. Don't worry about it. If you don't notice any bloat, you don't notice any bloat. I was talking to Cody yesterday. He and I were both like, yeah, we both agreed on that. But it's not bloat like it's this game that you've got to kind of force yourself to play to the end. It's just bloat in the sense that everything is so well done in Silent Hill 2 Remake that you do notice the stuff that it's like, oh, come on. Another mini hub with 3 floors and a basement and a bunch of doors to unlock and crawl under and push a crate or something to climb up to get over. I mean, there's a lot of that. But it's all of it's good. It just kind of felt like, let's move. That's how I kind of felt with it. It's actually incredible how Bloober Team did stories through gameplay, says Hassan in the game. Still can't get running away from Abstract Daddy and hiding in the closet like Angela would out of my head. The thing I really liked the most about it in terms of things like the storytelling and the gameplay and stuff was, and it'll be part of a video I'm working on now, but there's just so many little things that the game really, consciously or not, it makes you as a player, it puts you in a headspace to think about things in a more metaphorical way. And so in that, you start to see the messaging, whether it's intended or not, everywhere. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, I loved how, the very first apartment complex has mostly just kind of disgusting, gross wallpaper everywhere. But there's one part of there's a room in one part of a room where the wallpaper is peeling. And behind it is very beautiful floral wallpaper. Right. And how intentional is that? I don't know, but it certainly makes you go, okay, this is interesting. Here's all this dark, oppressive shit. But as he begins his journey, there's a hint that there's something positive. There's a hint that there's actually something worth saving underneath all of that crap. There's a lot of that shit in this game, at least that my head brought to the table after experiencing it. So I don't know if other people experience it that way, but I just adored it. I just fucking adored it. Addie Pie says Silent Hill 2 Remake should win Game of the Year. Nothing has come remotely close. You know what's weird about that though? I mean, I guess when you guys say Game of the Year, you're talking specifically about Jeff Keighley's show, because Game of the Year is, whose Game of the Year? There's all kinds of different reasons and different motivations and voting systems. But people got really annoyed at me, not a lot, but there were a handful of very vocal minority people on my Twitter when I said, hey, this is one of my, this is probably going to be my Game of the Year. And people were like, you can't make this the Game of the Year. It's a remake. It's a remaster, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, shut up. Who cares? You understand the Game of the Year doesn't get to sit in the Oval Office of the United States of the White House for 4 years, right? It's just this thing people say. If you don't think a game that's a remake should be Game of the Year, guess what? Don't say it's your Game of the Year. I just solved it for you. I just made everything better. J Lord, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says, I would love to see an Old Testament RPG during King David's reign. I have no response because I don't know what that was like. I know David fought Goliath. I know the Old Testament is what the Jews are vibing with, and the New Testament is what the Christians are vibing with. But I don't know. I don't know what really happened during that time. So in terms of what you would want to, bring into the narrative and the monsters, or would they be monsters? I know there's giants in one of the Bibles, one of the newer Old Testaments, but I don't really know much about it. But we almost had the beginnings of the New Testament in God of War 1, but I took off and they went in a different direction. There's demons in the Old Testament. I kind of thought the Old Testament didn't even deal with hell. In fact, I even think the New Testament doesn't have hell mentioned. Some of the books afterwards do. But I mean, again, I haven't read the Bible, so I don't know. But I've heard religious people say, oh, the actual concept of hell that we know is not literally in the New Testament. You have to read the Gospels or whatever. So what do I know? I don't fucking know. Here's what I do know. If somebody came back and said, well, Jaffe, do you want Jesus to come back or do you want this guy to come back? I'd say this guy. Well, I don't know. They're kind of the same. I love Superman. If you haven't seen this, James Gunn released a new picture of Superman today. It still is back, but he's got Crypto as puppy dog. And I love this image. I don't care if the movie is good or not. I don't want to enter into a debate about, oh, it's going to suck. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's going to be good or not. James Gunn tends to do pretty good. I don't think he's ever made a crap movie. Sometimes he makes movies that I don't love, but but I love dogs. I love Superman. Superman competes with Spider-Man for my favorite superhero of all time. And the reason is because he's positive. He's optimistic. He is the best in all of us. And I love that, man. I love that so much. And so it seems like this movie is going to actually speak to that part of him. It's not going to be dark. It's not going to be serious. It's not going to be Zack Snyder-y. Whatever you think of Zack Snyder, he's made some great movies. He's made some shit movies. It looks like they're going with the hopeful angle, and that makes me happy. J Lord, thank you, buddy. He says, I recommend reading the Bible. One of our members recommended a Bible for me, and I bought it, but it's just too long, and it's so little text. The text is so small. I'm like, it's not that I was like, oh, okay, I'll read the Bible. I should read it. I don't believe in anything, but why not? But then I sat down to read it and I was just like, Jesus, man, really? I mean, the text is just the tiniest fucking shit. No, I'm not doing it. Maybe they have like a Bible that's not so long. Jesus fucking Christ. Do I got to read the whole fucking goddamn book? Jesus. Anyway. Okay. As one who has read it, I don't recommend reading the Bible, says the Worcester dude. Yeah. Anyway. So, we'll see. Listen to this. I watched this last night, a couple of episodes of this. Bukaki says, hello, Bukaki. He says we should have a members only Bible study. Can you imagine? I watched the Netflix Tomb Raider cartoon last night and a little bit of the second episode today. You know what's really weird? I know people are complaining about the way she looks in the show. I mean, whatever. I mean, I think she looked, the most practical version of Lara Croft to me is when they did the reboot. When she starts on that ship and everything, I thought she was sexy, but she was practical. She looked like a real person, but she was still attractive. This one, it is clear that somebody said, this one is not designed in any way, shape or form for the male gaze. And I think that's true. It doesn't mean she's not an attractive character. She's just kind of, she looks kind of a little bit like Abby in The Last of Us in terms of her build and her body. But it's whatever that I didn't care about that. What I cared more about is what I liked about the show. And I don't love the show and I'm probably not going to watch any more of it. What I liked about the show was the Indiana Jones stuff they did really, really well. Cause I love Indiana Jones and everybody else comes second. Nathan Drake and Bring Him Back Alive and Tales of the Gold Monkey and Lara Croft, all of that stuff comes, it's always indie for me. But they did a good job. They had the temples and the tombs and the underwater passages and relics to collect and globetrotting all over the world and really cool relics. And that was awesome. But you know what's weird? It's like, if you're going to go this far in trying to establish her or reestablish her or whatever their goal is, you'd like to think they would make her a likable character. She's not unlikable. She's just kind of there. It's the weirdest fucking thing. They put all this effort into it, and they clearly want to relaunch this brand for their, because now not Amazon, but Amazon's making the game and they own the rights, I think now. But she's just kind of generic. She doesn't really have any sort of personality, she's like, oh no, I did something bad in the past, and it's like, okay. But you gotta want to love and like and connect with your main character, and so far I just find her really boring, but the action is good. I remember Alan Quatermain and Lost City of Gold, of course. Yeah, I love those movies, man. I love action adventure archaeological stuff. I'm a huge fan of that subgenre. But in terms of her, though, it's just, I got no issues with the way she looks, but I do feel that the way she's written is she's just kind of boring as a character. And it's like, really? You guys didn't want to spend a few minutes of the first episode of this brand new series having some stuff she can do in the first couple of, minutes or whatever, where she becomes really likable or endears herself to the audience? It's weird, man. It's like, Indiana Jones in the first, he's funny, he's talented. You're like, wow, he's clever, he's funny. All in the first 8 minutes of that movie. But the first episode and a half, she's just kind of sits around, doesn't do much of anything in terms of making herself likable. Indiana Jones previews are dropping this month, says Addie Pie. Cool. I'm very much looking forward to that game. You know what I saw? I saw that F1 has a race car with Indiana Jones. It's like logos and shit. I guess Indy and Microsoft are sponsoring one of the F1s this weekend, which is pretty cool. You don't have an issue with Lara Croft because you're not a real fan, Jaffe. Cool. Yeah, I don't care. I was... if I cared about your trolling attempt, I would push back on you, but I don't really care what you think about my opinion of Lara Croft. But what I will tell you is I am a fan of Lara Croft. I like a lot of the games. I even liked the remaster of the first Tomb Raider that came out a couple of months back. I probably bet you didn't even play it. But I think she's always been, when you strip away her, when you strip away kind of her overt sexuality that was there in the PS1, a little bit of the PS2 era, you never really had that compelling of a character. I mean, and that's not even the movies. And that's not to say she couldn't be one, but someone's going to have to write that, right? Nothing about the Illuminati or what do they call the whatever, her bad guys, nobody really thinks about. They're not very good antagonists. Her supporting cast, whatever. She's just kind of she's not very interesting, but she's never been very interesting. I don't care if it's Laura. They call her Laura. I don't care what her name is. I don't care what Alloy's name is. I don't give a fuck. I had one of my kids the other day, I think it was Calvin, was saying to me, because I was like, I always get Kamala's name wrong. And he says to me, just think comma in LA. I'm like, Kamala. And it's not out of disrespect. I just don't, I struggle with names as I get older to how they're pronounced. I don't know what to tell you. Timmy Duncan says it's not trolling. I'm saying you're not invested in the character to care enough. Well, what I'm saying to you is I'm invested enough in the character, and I've been with the character since she was introduced to the world, to know that for most people, she's never been that compelling of a character outside of the way she looked. So you can sit around and talk about, oh, they made her black friend a gay guy, I don't like that. Or they made her Samoan guy who was a romantic interest no longer this romantic interest, or whatever. And that's fine. But most people don't give a shit, right? The character hasn't earned that, that devotion for most people. They just go, oh, she's that sexy Indiana Jones lady. That's most people. And that's who they're going to need if they're going to make this a success. Eddie T says, I heard they made Lara Croft gay because of Netflix. I don't know if she's gay. She might be. I've only watched the first episode and a half. You know, I like it, but TV, I mean, it's like the TV I watch these days, like I have other things I'd rather be doing. I'd rather watch YouTube and go right to what I want to watch. I'd rather play video games, and I love watching TV with my family, right? Because it's an experience that we share. But the idea of like, oh my God, I can't wait to finish, like even Penguin. I love Penguin, and I love Agatha All Along. I haven't gone back to either one of them since the first couple of episodes. Not because they're bad, but just because it's like, all right, I'm not like, oh my God, I have to see this. What's going to happen? I don't care. It's not, they're not good enough, Yeah. Eddie T says, I'm addicted to Shudder movies. We watched, The Penguin's awesome, says Eric. Yeah, I loved the first 2 episodes, but I'm good. I'm not pulled along by the narrative enough to go, I have to see what's going to happen next. I watched the TV Glow the other night, which I thought was very cool and very, very weird. And then I think we're going to watch Abigail next, is the next horror movie. And VHS Beyond, or VHS 95 or 85. I hear that's great, man. I hear that's really, really good, actually, but I haven't seen it yet. Alana Pierce is in that. She's got a little bit of a cameo in that. Look at this. I want to tell you also what I've been doing, though. So this is, I'm not going to play any clips, but this was us playing D&D the other day with all of our members and stuff. It was... shit, I don't know their actual names. I just know their member names. But anyway, and I always liked my, dipping my toes in D&D. Oh yeah, I know D&D is not fun to watch for other people. I get it. And I don't expect it to be. This is kind of it is what it is, right? But my God, man, what a joyous game this is. It is so, man, it's exactly what I love about video games when they are firing on all cylinders. You can make it do, or at least you can seemingly make it do whatever you want it to do. I want to just tell you this scenario we had to give you an idea. So, me and the party, we had gone, we were fighting these bad guys or whatever. And Retro Gaming Queen had the ability to turn into animals. That was one of her abilities, right? We got this idea. Well, I had an idea. She was going to turn into a spider because she was going to land on this guy and freak him out. And I said, well, no, turn into a spider and crawl in his ear. And then turn into a bear. She said, I can turn into a bear. And we were going to explode from the inside out and kill the guy just instantly. And then she's like, you know what, though, that's going to damage me. So she turned into a bear, but on his head, and squished him, right? I mean, this is the kind of shit that is just like, it's not anything you can think of. It's not like stream of consciousness. A good DM, and we have a good DM, in Collide, is going to make sure the story is moving along and stuff, and you're having an experience that doesn't just feel random. But I mean, I'm 52 years old, and I was there when D&D launched, and I just never had the opportunity to really get into it. And I think I'm going to become a late bloomer in the goddamn D&D, because it is just, especially when they put out what's coming soon, which is the online version, which is all like 3D maps and stuff. So instead of playing it with these little 2D, simple visuals and stuff, but you're going to be able to play it. I don't know if you've seen the video, just go look it up. It's called Project Sigil D&D. You're going to basically have Unreal 5 environments that you can build and move things around and stuff. It's the coolest fucking thing. It's the coolest fucking thing. I love it. I love it. I want to do it all day long if I had my druthers, but I don't. But super fucking fun. Yeah, Bukaki says, we know you're old. Yeah, no, I know. But that's what I'm saying is I was there when these first D&D modules were hitting the bookstores. And I looked at them and I thought they were so cool, but I was just overwhelmed by the rules and the percentages and all. I don't know what the fuck this is. But It also I'm going to rebuy Baldur's Gate 3 now because I want to play it on PC because now that I really understand more of it and the rules and the stats and all that, I totally want to fucking play again because I played it with the controller, which really, really wasn't good. So anyway, I wanted to share that. And in fact, you know what I want to do? People say, Jaffe, when are you going to make another fucking video game? I don't know if I'm ever going to make another fucking video game, but I'm way too new at this, but I'd be stunned if I don't get hardcore into dungeon mastering down the road. Because I want to make these fucking adventures. I want to lead these fucking adventures. I mean, this shit is the craziest fucking shit. I love it. Steven Southwick says, how come you give your opinion on how people view a character as fact? It's how you view the character, but you can't say it's fact that everyone thinks like you do, man. You do, comma, man. You forgot your comma, Steven. Give me an example what you're talking about. This show goes fast and furious, my friend. I don't know what you're referring to. But I'm more than happy to address what you're saying. I just don't know specifically what you're talking about. Hello, Da Vinci's good to see you, buddy. Chad, I have a question. Not for me. This is Crytex. Why is it acceptable to bash the Bible but not the Quran? I am just curious. I think it's acceptable to bash whatever the fuck you want to bash. Okay. So maybe this guy will respond to me, but in the meantime, let's move on. But I'm digging it. Yeah. Oh, I'm with you, Wayne. Wayne says, I think I'd rather watch golf than watch people play D&D. Absolutely. It is not. There is, in fact, I'll just show you really quickly. We're not going to get into this, but I do want to show you, what I'm talking about though. So if you go to, let's see, hang on, So this one, so I do think this is going to go a long way, towards
a taste or get a
making watching people play D&D a lot more engaging and interesting. But you're not wrong. I mean, I think there is a way to do it, but you have to edit it and you've got to add sound and but just watching people sit around though, I'm with you 100%. Unless you're really invested in the rule set or the individual story, it's like watching people put on an old radio play but with no pacing. Is what I would say. C. Lou, thank you, buddy. C. Lou's been a member for 30 goddamn months. I appreciate it, my friend. Thank you, sir. It's just a video game then, says Mutant Mo. I don't think so. I mean, because again, this is able to be adjusted and created in real time if you want to, and you're still writing the story as you go. Or the DM's written the story, but you as the adventurers are manipulating and changing the story as you go. So far, a video game hasn't really done that in that level of player agency fidelity. You can do that with level editors. Yeah, no, I know, but this is built specifically to be role playing. It's not just meant to be a video game, but I'm going to tell you, it's different. I don't know if somebody joined the Cult of Calypso or not. I want to say welcome, but then it says message retracted. So I don't know if you made a mistake. So if you did, let me know and I'll give you great props and appreciation for joining and gratitude. But I don't know if you did because my message says welcome to Cult of Calypso, then it says message retracted. Okay, so Cadence M joined the Cult of Calypso. All right, well, Cadence, you've earned pretty much the new religious cry. When the election occurs next week, next month, everyone will be shouting this from the rooftops, and you get to hear it first.
Bill Spencer! Bill Spencer! Bill Spencer, baby, let's go! Yeah!
Indeed. Cadence, thank you so much, buddy, for your support. It's very generous, man. I appreciate it. Thanks, bud. In fact, we're doing a lunch with Jaffe if you're interested in joining later this week. And that is, it might be all members, but it's definitely Cult and above. So, Okay, let me read what Steven said, and then I'll get Jason's thing. Steven wrote back, he says, Lara Croft's appearance being the only thing that appeals about the character is what you implied. Probably correct, but still not fact and only opinion. Well, I would assume the fact that I'm speaking it, in fact, I could roll that back, or if you roll that back, I don't think I said it is the only thing. I think what I said is, so here was what I was stating as what I consider fact. Now, I don't have evidence that it's fact, so it's just an assumption of fact. It is an absolute subjective take that her appearance is the only thing that's appealing. But I don't believe it's a subjective take that for the vast majority of people who know and engage with that character in her video games, which is how most people engage with her, or in the movies, most people don't really have much of a view of Lara Croft besides sexy female archaeologist. I'm not suggesting that there are no, there's nothing written and there are no character beats for her. I'm just saying that most people, if you ask them, hey, what was Lara Croft going after, in the fifth game, most people would just be like, what? That's all I'm saying. And I think that's accurate, but I could be wrong. But Jason, thank you for the super chat. He says, here's your clip. You're called into Santa Monica Studios. You're asked, what do we do next with God of War, Jaffe? Egyptian, Japanese, or Celtic? Pick one. Well, I think the first thing you have to do is really figure out what the fuck God of War is. The best thing Corey did with 2018 was reinvent it. The worst thing Corey did with God of War 18 was he reinvented it and he wrote them into a corner. And Ragnarok, I think, is proof of that. I could be wrong, again, for Steven. I could be wrong, but I am of the opinion that most people aren't really jonesing for a new God of War game right now. I think we got the novelty, we got the quality of the first Corey game. Eric's game, short of the pacing, I thought was a very, very well-made game in a lot of many great ways. But I think people are good. So I think it's less about Egyptian, Japanese, or Celtic and more about what is the heartbeat of this series at this point? Is it about Kratos? Is it about letting you be a badass? Is it literally just about an action game set in different mythologies? I mean, that's not that compelling of an idea anymore, given so many games have already done that. So I think you really have to kind of almost reinvent it and go, what do we value about this franchise? That would be my take. Now, again, you could push back and say, no, the world is dying to know what happens now with Loki and Atreus and, Mimir, and maybe they are, but I don't get that sense. I don't get that sense. But let me know. What is the name of the game you're looking at? This is Project Sigil. It's a D&D tabletop simulator from Dungeons & Dragons Wizards of the Coast. It comes out in beta. I'm on the list. I haven't gotten in yet, but it'll be in beta this fall. And this is what I think is going to really push D&D into more people's lives. Because when you play with this and you edit it, it's still going to look, comparatively speaking, like you're playing a tabletop game, but I think you're going to be able to make it a lot more visually compelling and a lot more appealing to people. So that's what you're looking at right now. Okay. Yeah. Slade Time says, you are wrong about that, Jaffe, your God of War opinion. Ragnarok was peak God of War. I would like to see a council of gods descend to deal with Kratos. Great. Maybe I am. And maybe Santa Monica, is totally, maybe you and Santa Monica are plugged into the zeitgeist, and maybe that's exactly what's going to be happening. I don't fucking know. But for me, I don't really have any interest, but I'm a weird position of this thing, right? Cause I was kind of over God of War after the first one, cause I did what I needed to do and I moved on with my life. But that said though, my take is that God of War needs a kick in the pants is what I would say. Okay. We already talked about this. Just heads up. Next Fest is happening now if you have a PC. I've played about 5 games so far. I'll be doing a video on that, but just, don't miss it. Don't miss it if you are inclined to play some of the newest games, because Next Fest is the shit, and there's some good stuff. Blooper Team, I've seen this mentality. We're not going to get deep into we're not going to get deep into Silent Hill anymore. We've already talked it to death on this channel, but I did want to mention this because I disagree with this wholeheartedly. Xputer put this out, but I've seen this sentiment numerous places. Bloober Team has to give its due competition to Capcom now with more Silent Hill remakes. My answer, my comment to this is, what is wrong with us? It's like these guys show up, they make one of the best games, if not the best game of the year. They certainly make a new horror classic, according to most people, including me. And now instead of, ooh, let's get some new horror from these guys. What are their nightmares? What do they think about life in 2024 that we can create a new group of horror franchises? Instead, it's like, give us more, remake The Room now. And it's like, don't do that. Don't do that. This is the problem with all of this shit, man, is everybody's doing remakes and remasters. Thank God for the guys who invented Silent Hill that are coming out with Slitterhead. Because at least that's different. At least that's new. Thank God for the indie scene putting out weird as fuck games like Mouthwashing that just came out, which is also horror a couple weeks ago. But I think especially people who write articles, I'm sure The Room was awesome, Mutant Mo. I'm not denying that it wasn't. But could we maybe, get some new shit? Do we really, maybe the mentality that a lot of the people in the chat are showing is exactly what marketing is responding to. Maybe marketing's like, hey, yeah, we'd love to do that, but these people, all they want is what they know. Yeah, okay, fine. But I don't. I want to see some new shit, man. I want to see some, I don't know. Well, okay. So, Matt says every time it seems like Bloober made original IPs, they weren't as good, except for Layers of Fear. And I hear Observer is really good, and I would like to play that. But what I will tell you is I'm hoping some journalist, covers this. I'm hoping some journalist out there is able to kind of pin this team down and say, what happened? Because the same guy who directed Layers of Fear is the same guy that directed Observer and is the same guy that directed Silent Hill 2. But he's also the same guy that did Blair Witch and I believe Layers 2, and The Medium. And none of those were very good, in my opinion. And they certainly didn't connect like those three games I previously mentioned, Silent Hill, Observer, and Layers of Fear 1. And so for me, I'm fascinated by, did the studio get out of its own way? Was there some kind of political thing going on at Bloober Team where they finally got rid of this, political climber who was just always fucking shit up, and they let the director come back in and really take charge? Or was it a budget thing? Or was it that, believe it or not, because, Konami has earned their reputation, but for whatever reason, Konami actually gave them the resources, whereas Microsoft, even though I know Microsoft didn't publish The Medium, but they fucking should have, they hadn't had that support. I don't know. But I want to see these guys fly with new shit, and they have the experience. Silent Hill 2 Remake is really, I don't want to be hyperbolic and say masterful, but what I will say is it really feels like there are some smart people that get interactive horror that were working on this game. And I want to see them do something else, right? I want to see them grow into their own franchises. Okay. Bloober has just been trained by a few key members of Team Silent, so they've leveled up. That would be great. Then yes, let's see what happens. P Turtle says, I'll take remasters of great games. Okay, sure, P Turtle, over new slop like Concord. Yes, I will also take remasters of games that are great over brand new games that are not great. But what I will also take is brand new games that are great. And you're not going to get brand new games that are great if you don't try. Why would you attribute that to Bloober when you use great ingredients? Again, guys, I don't I prefaced it by saying, I don't know what changed. If they had never made a good horror game before, or all of their horror games didn't have, even the ones I didn't like and that didn't connect very well sales-wise, didn't have really compelling, interesting ideas, I would agree with you. I would say these guys are just hands, and Team Silent came in and said, do this, do that, do that. But you don't have that evidence because that's not what happened. But I would love to know, indeed, what did happen. I'm fascinated by it because... here's something else to think about as it relates, horror at any level, if it's good, is profitable, right? For the most part. I mean, it can be really weird and esoteric and shit, but I don't know why Sony doesn't have, and it's not Until Dawn. I know they think it is, and they announced today, April 25th is when the movie's coming out. Sony needs its own horror. Microsoft, Sony, I don't know about Nintendo, but Microsoft, Sony, and I think Ubisoft, all of them could be doing great in the horror space. And none of them have invested in it, really, at least as far as we can tell. If I had been Microsoft, and I said this ages ago, I would have bent over backwards to make the Medium sort of an exclusive Xbox thing and paid money for it because we need that shit, But, and I'd love to see a big open world horror game from Ubisoft, but I couldn't tell you though. I don't know why a lot of these bigger companies don't go in and say, hey, Resident Evil does well. Silent Hill looks like it's going to do well. Horror, when it's mid-budget, does well. Why aren't we owning this space, or why aren't we at least competing in this space? Okay. How do you think the Until Dawn movie will do, says Bukaki? I see no hype for it. I mean, the movie just finished shooting, right? So the movie itself is, it hasn't been marketed. Nobody really knows kind of what it is. So we'll have to see. If it gets good reviews, it'll do fine. But I would invite those in the chat that are saying, like Kyle says, horror is too niche a market. It really isn't. If you're talking about horror needing to sell Spider-Man 2 numbers, yeah, it's absolutely too niche. But if you're talking about, and again, if Sony stays the course and says every single thing we do has got to be the level of Spider-Man 2 blockbusters, then you're right. It's not for them. But I don't think, I'd have to think Sony coming out of this year getting battered and beaten up a little bit is probably going, maybe we could take some bets on singles and doubles. It's kind of like Moneyball. We just got to get on base sometimes, and we can win that way as well. Alan Wake still hasn't made a profit. That's how niche horror is. Addy Pie, that's like saying Concord hasn't made a profit. That's how niche shooters are. Alan Wake 2 is a great, beloved cult classic, but I played it. I played it for 6 hours. It was boring. Most people found that game, I think, in my opinion, boring. I think it was interesting, but it was slow. It was built off a franchise that was a cult hit. I don't think Alan Wake was set up to be the next big thing. Now that's Septic Sauce. And by the way, I did see that. Septic says, I intentionally avoided your member for 32 months where it says Jaffe hates sand people. If you're talking about the folks in Star Wars, I did hate them when they attacked Luke, but then in future iterations done by the great Kathy Kennedy, I have learned that they are actually just misunderstood. But it's a good question though, about Dead Space. I don't know how well it did. And this is why though, okay, so let's talk about horror briefly as it relates to movies first. Okay. And Tyler says Dead Space remake did well, just not enough for EA. So what you see in movies is horror can be medium to low budget. But the fans show up if it's interesting, right? And that's why I think Slitterhead is in a really good position, because Slitterhead, my guess is that game cost about $40 to $50 million. Okay. It does not look like a super sexy next gen game. It just doesn't. But the monsters look cool. The concept is interesting. And the mechanics look interesting. And the pedigree of the team is pretty good. Now, is it going to make its money back? If it's good enough, like if it's a solid 80, 75, I think it'll make its money back and then a nice little small profit. For them, because I think they I don't know if they self-funded it, but the publisher is the developer. For those guys, that's more than enough. And that's how you build new IP. Maybe the fourth one becomes they spend more money. Look what happened to Terrifier. Terrifier is this movie that comes out. Nobody sees it except hardcore horror fans. It builds passion for 2, and 3 came out and just beat the shit out of the Joker. Well, if Damien Leone, the director, writer, wants to now go and get $80 million for his next movie, I'm almost certain he'd be able to do it. And now we have Art the Clown, is what I would say. So, but I agree with Movie Maniac. I don't know if Alan Wake is a good barometer for the general audience for horror. The Last of Us did great. Resident Evil does great. Diablo does good. Yeah, I think Alan Wake is incredibly impressive and incredibly admirable, but I do not think it is paced and conceptually aimed at more than a cult audience, is what I would say. Adam says the key is low budget horror. Yeah, I mean, that's in the movies too. Most horror doesn't cost a lot. And I'm very interested in seeing what Blumhouse does. Blumhouse, if you don't know, has their first game coming out, Blumhouse Horror Games, is coming out with, I think it's called Fear the Spotlight. And you can play the demo right now on Steam Next Fest. So I haven't played it yet, but it's on my list. So, we will see. We will see how they do. But anyway, whatever. To put a point on it as it relates to this story, I very much would love to see this team make something new, make something of their own at this point. The last time they did it was Layers of Fear and Observer, which people really liked. I loved Layers of Fear. Haven't played Observer. I'm tired of the remakes, man. I'm tired of them. And you should be too, but maybe I don't know what age you are, but maybe it's kind of like, Blackjack says, no, the Medium was trash. Yeah, that's why I didn't mention the Medium, Blackjack. I mentioned Observer and Alan Wake. I mean, Layers of Fear. I don't know how old you are, but maybe, younger kids aren't even conditioned, to want new stuff because they've never had new stuff. But I don't want to, God, aren't you tired of the same shit? Aren't you sick of seeing, God, it's gross. And it's going to be just like the comic business. The comic business did that. It ate itself. It part of it was their fault with how they sold their shit and everything. But the only people who care really about comic books, I don't mean manga, I mean comic books. Or, these days are people who are in their 30s and older who came up with this shit. So, we'll see. I think Slitterhead is going to be compelling. I don't know if it's going to be for its budget. Well, that's different, Eric. Eric says, ask the people who only play Call of Duty and FIFA every year if they care about new stuff. I think at this point, the people who only play Call of Duty, yeah, no, they don't. But the business that I'm talking about is not the business of I assume this was a foregone conclusion on this channel. We've said it over and over and over. The days of people like you and me who play everything or love games as a medium, those AAA games are not made for us anymore. They can't be. They just simply can't be because they cost too much. And most people who play video games at that level are, like you say, not looking for anything unique and creative and interesting. But if you're watching this show, my assumption is you care about the art form. You care about video games. You love playing video games. And you care about getting some new stuff. You care about that, I hope. Otherwise, what are you doing watching this show? I don't mind. I don't mind, but okay. Let's move forward, shall we? Eric, that game, I'll get back to you. I don't remember off the top of my head. Okay. Adam says, as I'm getting older, he's 40, my desire to replay old favorites as remakes is higher than ever. I love them. I like new games, but sadly, many don't match the games from before 2000. Sure, I understand that. But if the industry isn't making new things for people to fall in love with that are the age you were when you fell in love with what was new, then it's going to end up eating itself, basically. Right? And I think the answer is just like with YouTube. I think the answer is the younger generation are finding their stars. They look very different. And I don't mean their stars like just humans, but like Fortnite or Gary's Mod or a weird obstacle course that they all have nostalgia for in Roblox. I know people like that would watch this would say, oh my God, that's ridiculous. Yeah, sure. I get it. But that's what they love. And so what I think is actually quite compelling is the people who are actually starting businesses making games that are in Unreal 5 for Fortnite or making games in Roblox Studio that are actually happening. You're just not seeing it. And I only kind of see it because, and my kids are they're older now, but they still play a little bit of those games. And I see it because I hear them talking about it or they tell me about it. But people who watch this show are not sitting around aware of, hey, do you know what the top 3 brand new, really unique Fortnite games are that are user created that everyone's playing? That's where you're going to find the new stuff. So, I'd go over there and look into some of it. There's a lot of cool stuff over there, man. Yeah, Adam says, I agree. My son plays the same 3 games, which are all free to play. It's sad. No variety, but he's happy. Yeah, I don't think it's sad. And I think there's plenty of variety. I mean, what you have to understand with those games is they're introducing new shit all the time in those games. If you look at what they did 2 seasons ago in Fortnite with the vehicle combat, it was in essence a new game. I'm not saying, and they still have other new games as well that aren't battle royale or build mode, not build mode. But there's a ton of variety within Fortnite and Roblox, Darth. I agree. Okay. Why did Jaffe's generation create so many great games? Because at the time, the number of copies that needed to be sold was not so much because of the budgets that there were enough people that loved the kind of games that we love. So the people making them and the people playing them were close enough that we could get away with that because what we made people liked. And now the budgets have gone through the roof, obviously. I mean, there's nothing clever about it. It's people talk about it all the time, but the budget's gone through the roof. And now if you're going to spend that kind of money, you have to basically make the big mainstream stuff. It's just too risky now to work at that level. I guess I don't have such a rosy, optimistic view of everything new is good. All progress is good. Sometimes things change and not for the better, says Doug. Yeah, but sure. But a lot of times things change and it is for the better. And when you're in it, you have absolutely no way to tell. No, that's not true, Mr. Mixelplick. He says it was passion then, now it's greed. It's always been greed and it's always been passion. The idea that there was a time when video games were like, oh, people just showed up out of the love of making games. And it was so weird. We just happened to make a lot of money. How weird was that? No, there were games that didn't get greenlit because they weren't going to sell. That was greed. There were games that were sequels that got greenlit because they would sell. That was greed. It was always that. But here's something else, like, and this is part of the problem. I don't mean to become, I don't care anymore. Fuck it. Think what you want to think. But the Concert World Tour, I'm tired of this shit too. PlayStation, the Concert World Tour, coming with music from God of War, The Last of Us, and all these other Sony games. Ghost of Tsushima, Horizon. Nothing wrong with that. Great. I'm sure it'll be a great show. But I'm tired of their shit. Make some new shit, Sony. Make some new fucking games. I'm sick of it. Sick of y'all. It's just, surprise me for once. Everything's, here's the problem you get into, by the way, fellas. You guys, you want all of your fucking remakes? Well, here's what you end up with. Everything it's like, remember God of War? You love that? Here's more. Last of Us, you love that? Here's more. Horizon, cool. Ghost, cool. More of the same shit because it works and you love it. And they don't make anything new anymore. I think this will be a great concert. I think the music will be phenomenal. It sounds like a nice idea. I'm sure it will be profitable. But come on, Sony. What are you doing? Even if, and I get it. I get the money. But make a fucking farm league group of studios. Make 5 studios. Give them $50 million every 2 years and say, make some shit. And get creative. New IP. Surprise us. That shit's got to come from somewhere. I was watching, I don't know if you guys saw it's really good, the Mr. McMahon documentary about Vince McMahon on Netflix. But it's really fascinating that that he talks about the value of building stars. Like he talked about Hulk Hogan. And how I think it was ECW or WCW or someone, I don't know, the second company, came along and basically took Hulk Hogan, right? And Vince McMahon was like, what the fuck? I made that character. I built that character along with the dude. And now someone else is benefiting, even though it's not the exact character. It's clearly the same character. And at some point, Vince realized my job is to continually make new stars. Now, clearly his job also in his mind was to go rape people. So I'm not saying I admire the guy in those sense, but in that sense, get some new blood. Where's your Rock, man? Where's your Roman Reigns? Where's your Becky Lynch? Where are, that's what I'm saying. There's going to come a point, and if you saw what happened in that documentary with WWF, they went through a long fallow period where they couldn't win because other people were coming along and eating their lunch and doing creative stuff and new stuff. So, it's important. Would the new shit appeal to you though, Jaffe, says Steven? I don't care. I'm not the audience. That's not the point. He says, we're post 40 and the fact is they don't want or need to appeal to our generation. Yes, but the younger generation is not showing up for, Horizon or God of War Ragnarok Part 2. They need to be blown away with their own shit. I agree. I've been saying we need new stuff. How can you, oh yeah, Microsoft has the same issue. I mean, again, it's not a lack of people in the world who can be creative. It's a lack of, not having part of their business model letting them try new things. Yeah, but Concord cost anywhere, depending on how you want to frame it, $200 to $400 million, Eric. He says, they released Concord. It's like, yeah, but don't spend that. Go give Give somebody $50 million and not Kojima, because he ain't going to do it for $50 million. Give a hungry but person who's made their mark enough to go, that person has some heat. Let's give him a try. Come on now. Jaffe, did you read about the Immaculate Constellation leak? I did. The real problem, if you don't know what he's talking about some of the UFO stuff and all that. The problem is, the more you dive into, he's doing OD with 50 million, Addy Pie, but not for Sony. He's doing it for Microsoft, but that's exactly the kind of stuff he should be doing. Immaculate, though, is apparently it's a top secret program about UAPs and UFOs, blah, blah, blah. The more you dive into what they call the phenomenon, which is all this UAP, UFO disclosure stuff, the more the algorithm serves it to you. And it becomes very difficult to know, are we seeing an explosion in new data? Or is it just that I'm seeing a lot more of it because that's what the algorithm knows I like? But there is going to be a hearing in the next couple of weeks. Apparently it's going to be, meaningful. There's been some footage recently where the Pentagon is like, hey, we've got this shit hanging out above Langley Air Force. We don't know what these drones are. Are they from China? I don't know. But we have no idea what the fuck these things are. So I have no real way to know. But I am fascinated by it all, for sure. Okay. But yeah, the concert I'm sure will be great. The PlayStation concert. I'm so fucking tired of them resting on all that shit. It's just gotten gross to me, frankly. I don't care anymore. I'll say it. The people I care about at Sony, for not all, but for the most part, are gone. I don't care. They're just a company to me now. I have no allegiance or I have no emotional connection with any of these folks here now. But I look at this and I just go, God, would you get off your fucking pretentious high horse and entertain the fuck out of us? They did it with Astrobot. I'm not saying they don't do it at all. They did it with Returnal. But I'm sick of this, Sony. Turn the page, you guys. You're not movie makers. I don't need you to be storytellers. I don't need you to be wannabe filmmakers. Make some fucking games. That's it. That's what I want for the next generation of Sony. Otherwise, I'm done with you. I don't care. I'm sick of it. Oh, look, it's these characters. They're like a movie. They're like big boy movies. See, we have music that's emotional. And our characters are real actors. Don't have a strike or we can't get our actors. Shut up. Shut up. I don't care. Capono says, keep in mind Sony's making more money now than back then. I don't care. Returnal was first party at the time. Sure it was. I mean, when they published it, I don't know when you're talking about. Just make some cool shit. Yeah, I mean, maybe that's it. MC Hammerpants says Sony needs to watch out for PC overtaking them. I mean, maybe that's the truth. Maybe if you spend enough time on the goddamn PC like I do, you start to go, you guys think this Sony shit? You think you tell me this is the highlight of your medium? Baby, you go play PC for a month. See what's happening at Steam, Next Fest. It ain't this. It ain't this. Yeah, it has been a good year for Sony, Adam. Helldivers was great. Stellar Blade was really good. People love I'm not suggesting they haven't put out good games. I'm bored. I'm bored of their shit. Astrobot was just kind of a nostalgia trip. Rebirth was a remake. Stellar Blade was Stellar Blade because she was hot. That was it. Nobody's walking around going, the lore of Stellar Blade, phenomenally interesting. I can't wait to see what happens to her and her friend, whatever her name is, next. I'm not bored of games, though. Coolio says I'm bored, too. I'm not bored of games, though. I'm just bored of this kind of shit. I'm tired of it. It's gross to me now. I'm more interested in Avowed. than I am anything I've seen coming from Sony. Hellblade 2 was terrible, though, Eddie T. I agree. Hellblade 2 was junk. That was a junk game. Stellar Blade had amazing gameplay with deep mechanics, says Eddie T. That's cool. I mean, I played the demo and I was fine. Anyway, okay. Let's see what else we got lined up, boys. And let's talk. Now I'll save this for later. Let me just tell you, there is a hint. Metaphor Refantasio, Johnny, I'm excited for it. It's brand new IP. I played the demo, and I haven't finished it, but I really liked it. Indiana Jones. I don't know if this is accurate. Oh, fucking, I'll just show you. Okay. And again, I'm a mega indie fan. Like we started talking about Lara Croft. Indie got me into this industry. I love Indiana Jones so much. But so I am excited by what I'm about to tell you. But if you're not a huge indie fan, or especially a Raiders fan, whatever. But I think you're going to get to replay, kind of like God of War Ragnarok Valhalla, getting to play Greek mythology. I think this game is going to let you replay the boulder scene where you go get the idol. And yeah, we saw that in the first trailer, him running from the boulder, but I kind of figured, and I think most people figured, oh, well, that's just like a montage of his adventures or whatever. But if you know Indiana Jones, you see this is the new trailer from Tokyo Game Show. This thing here, this thing on the wall is the same thing on the wall here, where he actually got the idol. And this is from gameplay. And then these are the exact props you can buy from Raiders. Look at that. I think you're going to get to replay the goddamn temple scene. PK says, isn't indie like a remake because it relies on nostalgia? Oh yeah. I think that Indiana Jones, if Indiana Jones doesn't work for people who don't know who Indiana Jones is, they're fucked. They are fucked like a fuck, as they should be. I will love it because it's indie, but you're absolutely. They absolutely have got to make a game that works if you've never heard of Indiana Jones. Otherwise, they're dead in the water. KVG, thank you for that very generous super chat. He says, be the change you want to see in the business. You've got a great game left in you somewhere. Eventually, you're going to make it. Godspeed, Jaffe. Thank you, sir. Well, again, as I've said over and over and over, it's not that if the right situation didn't present itself. Look, man, here's what I'll tell you. Earlier in the show, we were talking about Dungeons and Dragons and how I'm really falling in love with Dungeons and Dragons. Well, I could see myself becoming someone who runs games, Dungeon Master games that I write from the very beginning. It's not that I don't want to create these adventures anymore, but the process to do it in the form of a video game, I don't want to have to set that up. KVG. I want that to be brought to me, turnkey solution, and someone says, we have all this stuff. We just need somebody to come in now and guide us creatively. Then I'm like, oh, okay, I'll have that conversation. But I was so turned off after Bartlett Jones of the part of building a company that I'm just like, no, thank you. There's nothing fun about it. There's nothing fun about it at all. Eddie T says, is the indie game all first person or a hybrid? It sounds like it's mostly first person, but it does pull back from time to time to show him. But I don't know how much gameplay that is versus just visual, like a cutscene or a real-time cutscene or whatever. I'm not entirely sure. But I do think we're going to find ourselves playing the temple scene, which is pretty cool. I'll save that. All right. Am I backing off from streaming indie? Yeah, I will not be streaming indie, Mutant Mo. I will not be streaming any single player. Like I might get Zelda, the new Zelda, and I might stream that because that's less about being immersed and more about the mechanics. But anything that's a narrative-based story game, I won't be streaming, at least if it's my first playthrough. Because you really you lose out on the experience, right? Yeah, Mutimo says, but you'll make videos, right? Yeah, 100%. Because like I did the Silent Hill video, it took a lot longer to make, but than stream it, obviously. But I wanted to be able to actually offer some, whether it was correct or good or bad, I wanted to offer some thoughtful discourse to the conversation of that game. And when I'm playing it and going back and forth with the chat, I can't really lose myself to the experience. I don't think you'll see a Lust from Beyond Halloween stream. No. You should stream everything you play, says Addy. Free content and you don't disappear for weeks. Yeah, but so what? Look, if I was one of these guys that did that and I was making tons of money doing it, you would have a point. But frankly, I don't find that content super compelling. And it's not making that much money. So it doesn't make a lot of sense if I could instead spend that time doing something like the Silent Hill video or doing something like Gabbin' and Games or doing something like Brain on Games that allows me to actually put something out there that I think is compelling and it actually makes more money. But your mileage will vary. Yeah, I'm with you, Adam. Indie's definitely a game to play on headphones and get immersed. Fuck you, Bukaki Drive-By. I may stream some Elden Ring as I'm getting close to the end. Did you see that though? Piago says stream some Dead by Daylight or Texas Chainsaw. Last night or 2 nights ago was the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards. I don't know if you guys watched these. But it was interesting because up for best video game was best horror game. Was where did it go? Hang on, I'm looking. Yeah. It was in there somewhere. Hang on a minute. Hang on. What do you mean, Smoking? The 180 the chat's made on Indie. What do you mean? Lucas, I will be doing the follow-up. Absolutely. Absolutely. Chainsaw nomination. Best video game. Fangoria. I was looking at the wrong thing. Okay. So here's what was nominated for the best video game, the best horror video game. They said Alan Wake 2, Dead Space Remake. Was Dead Space Remake this year? But anyway, whatever. Resident Evil 4 Remake, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and Texas Chainsaw. Texas Chainsaw won. What are you talking about? It was a good game. One of the best fucking horror game. Awesome Tatum. I loved Madison. I haven't played the VR version, but Crow Country, County Country should have been nominated. Oh, I agree. Oh, the members have been trashing it? Oh, I don't care. What do I care? I can't wait for it. I cannot wait for Indiana Jones. I am super excited for it. I cannot wait for the new Call of Duty. Super excited for it. I have a feeling, because what I've played of that Fantasio game, I really did enjoy. So I have a feeling I'm going to really end up liking that, but I can't fathom me spending all of the time to really beat that game. It's like over 100-hour video game. I just don't see I've got it in me. But all right, I got some more stuff, but I'm going to save it for the next Gabbin' game. So here's what's going on, just so you know. Tomorrow was the new Dead Space boring, Kraken Pines? God, no, it was fantastic. It's fantastic. Okay. I'm doing a Constellate or a Jaffe Moriarty tomorrow with Colin. I'm doing a lunch with Jaffe on Thursday or Friday. I'll let you know tomorrow. And then I'll be doing a Gabbin' and Games on Thursday and Friday as well. But I am going to also be doing I don't know if I'm going to take Brain on Games and Gabbin' and Games solo and War Stories and kind of merge them all together. I think that makes the most sense, but I'll let you guys know. Tell Colin to hurry up and play Silent Hill, says Awesome. He hasn't played it. I'm surprised by that. He meant like horror games. I don't know. I'll mention that tomorrow. See what his holdup is. I wasn't aware he had not played that game. And I love the weird. Maybe I love the weird. I love them. I'm trying to stay focused on one thing and focused on the games and, but I would love, I know people want, and I love the weird, and I would love to do one too. It's just a very small group. And so it's a lot of work that goes into it, and there's not a lot of, payoff for it. Right. But if you guys want, trust me, I got a shit ton of topics. So I'll do another one. We'll see if we can build the audience for it. So, the pot and popcorn stuff is never well attended. If I could figure out a way to do well attended, like here's the thing that pisses me off so much. Let me show you something on your screen. This pisses the shit out of me. And I thought this was going to be a bigger deal, right? Hang on. What the fuck? It may have even killed the service. Hang on. It's called, okay, so I wanted to see, I've heard about the Nintendo playtest. I just don't know what it is. I don't think most people do. So the problem with the pot and popcorn stuff is that, you can't save it, right? And you can't even do one that's free. Like I can do it on Discord, but once it's done, I have nowhere to park it, which means if you don't watch it, live, you don't get to ever watch it. And I was hoping one of these services like Scener Premium or whatever would come along and they would let you, hey, if you have Disney Plus and we do a screening of the Avengers, as long as you have Disney Plus, you can watch it after the fact. But no one's doing that. Even Amazon Prime, when they had their watch parties, you had to watch it live. And it's a lot of work that goes into it. It's a lot of time, and it doesn't seem to really merit that many people who are interested. So, but there you go. Okay. Mortal Kombat might have been Scener, might have been that app, Mutant Mo. Okay. Uploaded as a commentary track. Yeah, but even that's hard because you got to figure out how to split the sound, and it's a pain in the ass. Anyway. All right, fellas, that's the gabbing in the games for today. Be well, be safe. I'm trying to get these things done in the morning more. That's when I have a lot more energy. You can probably tell I'm a little like, it's end of the day. But I'll be back at least with 2 or 3 more of these shows this week. I'll be back with Colin's show tomorrow. And I'll be doing a lunch with Jaffe this week. Spasbo says you can always put a timer on the video for viewers to watch the movie at the same time. Yeah, but how do I record me watching and you guys watching and talking without getting the audio from the movie, right? That's what I haven't quite figured out, because then at least I could put a timestamp. But I did that with the Art the Clown movie with Terrifier 2. But nobody, it's got, here, I'll show it to you. It's got there's no views on it. If you go to, hang on, I'll show you. If you go to the Terrifier watch party, right here, it's Jaffe. Good to see. That's all of us watching it, and here's the timestamp at the bottom. But nobody showed up for this after the fact, right? And so it just doesn't seem to be useful. Some things aren't for views, Jaffe; they're for community growth. Well, okay, how would this grow the community if no one's watching it after? Again, I'm with you on that, but explain to me how this would create that experience that you're talking about. Because for these guys that showed up live, I'm with you. But what about the people that didn't show up live? It's not like they were watching it later, were they? Maybe if this thing had a still every like 10, 20 seconds to at least, know where we're at in the movie. I don't know. I mean, look, if you guys want it, I'd like to do it. I love doing it. Does anybody actually watch this after the fact? I wish I could figure out where in the sound the that awful murder was at the end of this fucking thing. Oh man, it was crazy, this movie. Have you seen this movie, Terrifier 2? It's good stuff. All right, Bukaki says he's going to tell us the main problem. Here we go. I'm waiting. Darth Nugget says something like that wouldn't get a ton of views, even the most Tarantino tracks. Right. The toilet film was great. Jaffe doesn't make clear what the benefits are of being a member at all. Oh, he's right. You're right. Oh, I know. Yeah, I do. I'm terrible at that. I'm terrible at advertising it. I'm terrible at reminding people about it. I'm terrible at saying, oh my fucking God, can you believe that these people are the superstars of the show? Come in here. I'm awful at it. And I need to get better at it. I really do. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. That said, though, thank you to the God of War members, Eddie Torres, Zack Procrastinates, the Gods of War, Swap Fire, Lutron Z, Hector Howell, and Rock's Heart Vendetta. You guys are keeping the Taylor Swift Sweet Tooth truck rolling, and I sure appreciate it. People are always DMing me on Discord asking how to get a hold of Jaffe and stuff. If he just did a little ad on his shows or something saying, be a member and we watch movies together and shit. Okay. You're not wrong. K-Nub says, I just canceled all 4 subs today, but I stayed subscribed to you, Jaffe. Why? I appreciate that, but tell me why. Explain it. Look, here she comes again. She missed me. I missed her too. Explain to me, K-Nubs, why? What kept you here? Hey, I will do a pot and popcorn. If you guys want a pot and popcorn, let's fucking do it. But, fuck it, I'll do it. I'll talk to Spaz about how to record just the audio. I'll figure it out. Darth Nugget says, Jaffe, you should take a play out of the AA, AAA industry playbook and design for the lowest common denominator. I was talking... to Mute Mo about this. I said, let's just fucking do Maxim for video gamers. Right? Let's just fucking have TNA and all the games we stream are all the shit that's just Stellar Blade shit. I don't mean be anti-woke, because I'm never going to be not progressive. Ever. But I will say that maybe just going, let's just focus on the 14-year-old male, straight male in all of us. Not all of us, but in the people who have that. You know what I'm saying? That sounds filthy. There is a business to be built there, but I just, K-Nub says, what do I do? No, fuck you, Addy Pie. Jaffe doesn't read my chats anymore, Nubs. Guess he's too big for me. Fuck you, bitch. It's not that I don't read your chats anymore. I read all the chats, but I've gotten better at going, that's a troll post. That's a troll post. That's a genuine comment that other people would be interested in. And so you hang out at about the 50-50 zone of what you what you offer is all. So I know when to block them. But no, K-Nubs, you're a lonely guy. Welcome, baby. Welcome, baby. You are welcome here in our environment for as long as you want to stay. We love having you, sir. Just be the anti-grums. I know you like to stir the pot and be a little shithead. Listen, that Grums guy pisses me off because I don't like him. I don't like you, Grums. I know in the past we had nice conversation. You're just full of shit, man. You're either full of shit or you're broken. Because nobody should be as upset about this shit as you seem to be. You seem to wake up with a spring in your step, hoping somebody's going to do something today to piss you off in the video game business. Yeah, my interview's up still with him. It was a fine interview. But it's like, Jesus Christ, man, talk about something, anything other than this shit. I would even get it if Grums was a good look. I mean, I don't mean to say this in a mean way. I'm not a good looking guy. I'm just a normal looking fella. But if Grums was some kind of, Chad and all the women were all over him and shit, and he's like, I want to see all these sexy hot women in my art because that reflects my life. Okay, fine. But Grums, nobody's fucking you. Nobody's fucking you. Unless you paying them. And nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But don't act like, I mean, like, like you have because the way he goes on, it's like he's got some kind of, oh, Grums loves his women and he knows what a woman needs to provide. You don't know shit. You don't know anything. I didn't say he was a bad guy. I said he was an idiot. Wokeness is the cause, as well as bad grammar, of so much layoffs. But Grums is the bad guy for... Grums didn't expose shit. Grums didn't expose shit. Come on. But I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm sure he's a nice human being. I just think he's, dude, stop. Do something that's not what you're doing. Anyway, my friends, I love the D&D Lutron. It's so good. I'm having such a fucking good time becoming a fan of that shit. Should have done it a long time ago, sir. All right, that's the show. Be well, you guys. I will be back very, very soon. Well, I'll certainly be back on Thursday. Depending on how long I stream with Colin tomorrow, I'll be back and do something then as well. But I'll see you guys soon. And we'll talk soon. All right. Bye, you guys. Do you support the damage wokeness cause, Jaffe? El Asso Wipo asks. Here's what I'll tell you, sir. Be specific, right? Provide evidence that the claims you make are backed up by evidence. If you can do that, then we can have a real conversation about it, because I'm not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to thinking that creative decisions that don't vibe with the enough people are bad business decisions. I think even Disney has recognized that and walked back some of their intent as it relates to more progressive themes in their stories. But the idea that this game sold well and this game didn't because of wokeness, I don't think you have that data. I just don't think you have that data. So, all right. There's the show, folks. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye, you guys.